With all due respect, that's a bunch of malarkey. This is a bunch of stuff, deal.
What does that mean, a bunch of stuff?
Well, it means it's simply inaccurate.
It's Irish.
It's Irish. It is. We Irish call it malarkey.
Thanks for the translation.
No,
Okay.
We Irish call it malarkey.
You know what this is? Yeah, and I reserve this word for those rare instances when it's truly deserved. This is malarkey.
That's a bunch of malarkey.
Direct from the King Spring Studios in beautiful Smyrna, Georgia. This is a bunch of malarkey. Now, here's your host, the incredible Charlie McMahon.
Thank you, Scott Shannon, and thanks to all of you for tuning in to yet another episode of A Bunch of Malarkey, our 70th episode overall, if you can believe that. And as I always say, we cannot do it without you, the listeners. Now, considering that only 12% of podcasts never get to a second episode, 6% never make it to a past the second episode, and 50% of all podcasts have fewer than 14 episodes. It says something. We persevered over the last year and a half, thanks to you, the listeners. Now, I want to say up front, I have a little bit of a cold, so I'm sorry if my voice sounds a little off or annoying, but I figured it wasn't severe enough to cancel the show this week, so we will soldier through with a little bit of a distorted voice, so my apologies up front. So, 70 episodes, we're about to hit our 400,000 listener mark this week. Sometime midweek to the end of the week, we'll have a major announcement on that on our social media pages. So thank you very much. 400,000. I mean, I never thought I'd get to 400 people wanting to listen to this. So 400,000 by the middle of the week, end of the week, we'll let you know. We'll be celebrating that with you on social media later in the week. So how do you get in touch with us? Where are we on social media? Well, first of all, you can email us anytime for any reason. A bunch of malarkey podshow at gmail.com. A bunch of malarkey podshow at gmail.com. We get quite a bit of emails, people, ideas for shows. If you have an idea for a show, you want to be a guest, even if you're not in the Atlanta metro area, we can do it by phone. If you know somebody who would make a great guest, get in touch, a bunch of malarkey podshow at gmail.com. Call us, leave us a voicemail, 706-406-8212. You can also text that number. I know people don't like to talk anymore. Actually, we wouldn't be talking anyway. It would be a voicemail, but people just don't. They have this phobia of leaving voicemails or calling anybody anymore because, you know, we're in a texting society now. So you could do that. Phone number, 706-406-8212. Email. Find us on Facebook, A Bunch of Malarkey, at Malarkey Pod Show on Twitter, A Bunch of Malarkey Podcast on Instagram. So many ways to communicate with the show. So you couldn't turn on a TV or a radio this week without hearing about the coronavirus, right? Everybody's fearing the coronavirus. We have flu killing thousands of people right here in our own country, but we're worried about a coronavirus. Now, one of these you can get from a bar at a party. The other can get you barred from a party. That's right. The new coronavirus that was just found recently in Wuhan, China, is not the same as Corona beer. It has nothing to do with beer. It is not sold in bottles. It doesn't go with a lime wedge. It's not going to help you find your beach. Yet, according to Google Trends, Google searches for beer virus and Corona beer virus have been on the rise, corresponding to the spread of the coronavirus beyond Wuhan and beyond China. As new coronavirus outbreak continues to spread, some people seem to think that the deadly outbreak is somehow related to Corona beer. Well, we got some news. It is not. The alcoholic beverage from Mexico showed a surge in Google searches in the past week, along with the term Corona beer virus and beer virus. In the United States, Google Trends calculated that 57% of the people that searched one of those terms searched for beer virus, and the remaining 43% searched for Corona beer virus. States like Hawaii, New Mexico, and Kansas are searching beer virus more, whereas states like South Carolina, Colorado, and Arizona are searching Corona beer virus more. Google Trends tweeted Tuesday that coronavirus symptoms had spiked 1,050% this week. The search engine also included top questions on the coronavirus from the past 24 hours, which included, what is coronavirus and is coronavirus deadly? Google and Constellation Brands did not immediately respond to the media's request for comment on the recent search urge. So what is the coronavirus? It's a family of viruses named so because corona means crown in Latin, and these viruses have little spikes on their surfaces that make them look like little crowns. The strain that is causing the current outbreak that started in Wuhan, China, is a newly discovered strain. What is corona? It's a brand of beer, a pale lager. If you drink too much of it or any alcoholic beverage, you may end up with a crown on your head and not realize how it got there. Corona the beer originated back in 1925, 40 years before the first strain of coronavirus was discovered and named. The virus was not named after the beer. If you ask a bartender for a Corona and he or she tries to give you the coronavirus, do not return to that bar. So, folks, I mean, the stupidity. How you can link that it's linked to a beer, and these people are searching for it. This is scary. These people vote. So how often do you see in the news, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on your political views, the death penalty is still alive and well in some states in the United States. Now, I don't understand why every time someone's about to be executed, they have to tell you what their last meal request was. Now, we just had a guy who was executed here on, I think it was Thursday or Wednesday. But like a day before, all of the headlines here, it had to tell you what he requested as a last meal. So this dude wanted 2 chili steak burgers, French fries, onion rings, mustard, ketchup, and a Coke. Now, could you imagine if they forgot his mustard and ketchup? You know how you always go through the drive-thru and they fuck you out of your sauces and your ketchup and your mustard. Imagine that your last meal, your mouth is watering for that, and they fuck you on the sauces or the ketchup or the pickles. You tell them to hold the pickles. Imagine that being your last meal and you get fucked out of the sauces or condiments. I just thought that was funny. Maybe you'll find it funny, but for some reason I thought that was pretty funny. But I don't understand why we have to hear what these people want for their last meal. Who gives a fuck what this guy who killed a family of 8 wants for his last meal? Now, what would you want for your last meal? Think about that. And respond. I might put a question up. It's your last meal, and you can include the dipping sauces that you want, folks. Whatever you want. I'm going with pizza. Maybe a pepperoni pizza, a Coke, maybe an order of mozzarella sticks beforehand. I don't know. I think, I don't have to give it too much thought. I wouldn't want any dipping sauces in case they forgot them, and I just want something pretty simple, pizza, some soda, Coke, pop, wherever the fuck you're from, whatever you call it. But could you imagine that, though? This guy's all ready for his steak burger, and they forgot his ketchup and his mustard and shit, so I just thought that was funny. I just, again, don't understand why that's a big deal, why we have to hear about these people's last meal all the time. So last week, we talked about a guy who got a couch from a thrift store and found $43,000, I think $100 and some odd dollars in it, and he returned it. Now, I asked you guys, if you found that money, what would you do? And I thought it would be 80 to 20% that you would keep it, but a little bit closer. 65% of our Bunch of Malarkey listeners said they would keep the money, and only 35% said you would return it. Now, I know a couple of the people personally that said that they would return the money, and I think you're full of shit. I got to be honest. There's a couple of people there that I know that said they would return it, and I believe them. But there's a couple of people that responded that I personally know that I'm friends with that said that they would give it back, and I call bullshit on them. But 65 to 35% said they would keep the money. So we talked about money in a couch last week, finding money in a couch, which is a good thing, but in Rose Hill, Kansas this week, a man found something much different in his couch, and it wasn't something you would want to find. A man who was looking for his keys in the couch cushions was surprised when he found a 7-foot snake instead. The guy woke up, started getting ready for work. He was looking for his keys. He thought he might have dropped them in his couch cushion. He reached in and finds an unexpected visitor inside the couch. He called the police, and they brought in Melvin Lino, a volunteer firefighter who happens to love snakes. Leno said he put on his heavy gloves, went in the house, folded the hide-a-bed out, and started pulling the snake out of the bed. The snake was very calm and gentle, so he took his gloves off and got him out of there. He was so cold because he had been in the couch for quite a while. Local officials think the snake had been there several weeks to a few months living in that couch. Curious how a 6 to 10 foot boa constrictor was able to get inside a person's couch in Rose Hill, Kansas. The best we could figure out is that it belonged to somebody else in the neighborhood. The snake was taken to a nearby pet shop until the owner claims it or it's adopted. Always check your couch. Absolutely check your bed. You know, around here people might expect to see spiders, but I can't really give them tips on what kind of snakes to expect, the police said. That was a new one. Now, so many questions. How do you, well, I guess, I don't know, not that we pick up the couch cushions every week and vacuum under there, but I think I would notice if a 7 to 10 foot snake was living in my couch. I don't know how this guy was, imagine that for months you're laying on the couch, eating chips, drinking beer, drinking Coronas, dipping, you know, having your steak burger with your dipping sauces, ketchup and mustard and curly fries, whatever the fuck you're eating, your last meal. Could have been that guy's last meal on the couch, right? Whether or not he got dipping sauces is a whole nother story, but this guy's sitting there on the couch watching ball games. You know, the Kansas, he's in Kansas, the Chiefs, you know, right next door. He's ready for the Super Bowl, and there's a 7 foot boa constrictor right under his ass. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. So all kinds of crazy shit in couches out there, folks. So when you're done with this episode, if you're listening at home, or once you get home, if you're listening in the car at work, when you get home tonight or today or whatever time you get home, you might want to pick up those couch cushions. You never know what the hell is hiding in there. Now, we talk a lot about mutants on this show. We have a Mutant of the Week segment. We call out all kinds of people who misbehave in public. And I put up a poll back in, I think it was July. I asked you guys, when you see a mutant out in public, do you call them out on their mutant activity? The vote was split. 47% said you do. 53% said no. Now, there's a guy here, right here in Gwinnett County, Georgia, which isn't far from here at the King Spring studio. He's a 77-year-old man who was punched in the face as he walked into a Gwinnett County grocery store, and now police are looking for the people responsible. It happened at a Kroger, and it all started in the fire lane in front of the store. The victim, who did not want to be identified by name, he said about 4:30 p.m. on January 23rd, he pulled up and saw someone parked in the fire lane. On his way inside, he said, "You're not supposed to park here in the fire lane." Police said surveillance video shows a woman who was in the parked car in the fire lane get out of the car, go in the store, walk up to the victim, and say something. Officials said a man who was with her then assaulted the 77-year-old man. The next thing I know, the jerk comes around and just cold cocks me flat on the floor, the victim said. Witnesses told police they couldn't believe it happened. The suspect took off, and police are now looking for him. There's a video of the assault that Kroger cameras recorded, but investigators said they're not releasing it because the case is still open. The victim said he had no idea he was even in the place until he came around in the front and punched me. So he didn't even know the guy got out of the car or anything. He just got hit. The incident is a reminder to shoppers that you may want to tell police when someone is doing something illegal instead of saying something to them yourself. You never know what they are going to do. So it's one of those things, folks. If you're going to call out a mutant, you have to have backup. Now, I was messaging a friend the other day about calling out mutants, and I say, if you're going to call out mutants, this is what you have to do. Like, say someone has 12 items, you know, it's 12 items or less on the express lane. They have a whole full belt. Instead of confronting them yourself, you got to get other people riled up with you. You got to turn to the person behind you and say, would you believe this guy? He's got 80 items on the express lane. You got to get other people furious too. So this way, if shit goes down, you probably might have somebody take you, have your back. That's the strategy, I think. You got to get other people riled up, even to the point where they may say something. You got to, plant a little seed. If you're second in line behind a violator, you say to the person in front of you, can you believe this guy? You can let him get away with that 80 items on the express. You get them enraged, so they are the ones who get punched in the face. So there's a method to calling out these mutants. So that may make you think twice about calling out one of these people. So that'll transition perfectly into our favorite segment.
A bunch of malarkey. Mutant of the Week.
So last week in a barn burner, a very close race, the mommy mixing madman, the guy who mixed his mom's ashes into his drugs and snorted them and maybe sold them, he beat the buried burglar, the guy who broke into a tire shop and was buried by a tire display. It was a 54 to 46% victory, very close, but the mommy mixing madman is our mutant of the week until one of these two try to take the crown from him. Now, where do you vote for the mutant of the week? You go to our Facebook page, A Bunch of Malarkey. You like the page, you scroll down on Tuesdays, very early in the morning, sometimes even late Monday night. The poll goes up, ends on Saturday, 5 full days to vote. Make your voices heard. I appreciate you all who vote each and every week. And for those who don't vote, now we got over 40,000 listeners a month. And I get the same 20 people voting every week. Come on, people, step up the game. Go to that Facebook page and vote. And for the people who are religiously voting, I thank you so much, but hit that share button, put it on your page, and encourage your friends to vote as well. You know, the more votes, the better, right? All right, so this week it's a battle between two pretty good states, one that's in the news all the time, Florida, and Massachusetts. But first things first, we got to go down to Kissimmee, Florida, where, would you like fries with that? How about a side of cash? Deputies say a man walked into a McDonald's in Kissimmee on Sunday night wearing an employee uniform. He walked behind a cash register and helped another man place an order. Seconds later, the cash register drawer opened, and surveillance footage showed the man posing as a worker grabbed the cash out of the register before running out one door of the restaurant, while the other man ran out the other door. Deputies from the Osceola County Sheriff's Office said Sunday's incident is the second one involving a fake McDonald's employee. Investigators say the first incident happened at another McDonald's back on Christmas Day. Deputies described the suspect wearing the McDonald's uniform as a man in his mid-20s who is approximately 6'2" and weighs about 170. They described the second suspect in the incident as a male in his late 20s, about 5'10" and about 230. Anyone with information on the incident is asked to call the Osceola Sheriff's Office at 407-348-2222. So we'll call our first mutant of the week the McDonald's Masquerader. Our second Mutant of the Week nominee, we got to go up to Natick, Massachusetts, where Natick police have arrested a 51-year-old Ashland woman accused of repeatedly defecating in the parking lot of a sporting goods store. Andrea Grosser was arraigned Wednesday in Natick District Court on 8 counts of wanton destruction of property, Natick Police Lieutenant Kara Rossi confirmed. Police launched an investigation into Grosser's alleged behavior in December after Henry Canner, the owner of Natick Outdoor Store on North Avenue, reported finding piles of human feces in his parking lot on a regular basis. Investigators initially thought that an animal was responsible for the dirty acts, but toilet paper and wipes were found nearby, according to Rossi. Canner told the police that he found feces in his parking lot on October 30th, November 19th, December 11th, December 12th, and January 8th, January 15th, January 16th, and January 22nd. This woman likes to shit a lot. All of the alleged incidents happened between 6 and 7 a.m. Canner also claimed that Grosser relieved herself on a 9th occasion. Grosser would park in the back right corner of his parking lot and time her movements so that pedestrians waiting for the train and shuttle buses had already left the area. She would then reportedly open the driver's side door and the rear driver's side door to create a barrier to defecate. Rossi says the bowel movements were caught on surveillance camera, but part of the suspect's license plate was always hidden from view. Police upped patrols in the area in an effort to catch the serial pooper in the act. Last Wednesday, officers spotted Grosser using the bathroom in the parking lot around 6:51 a.m. and confirmed that she had in fact defecated on the pavement. An officer followed Grosser out of the parking lot and pulled her over in the area of Walnut Hill Drive. When asked about the feces, Grosser reportedly said that she had irritable bowel syndrome and that she didn't want to use the bathroom in a home where she works as a nanny, just 4 streets away from the outdoor store. When the officer asked Grocer why she didn't stop to go in a number of nearby businesses, including a Dunkin' Donuts, she reportedly said she should have and she would next time. Rossi added that police are puzzled by why Grocer would behave in such a way. She's due back in court in March. So let's call her the parking lot pooper, the woman shitting regularly in a sporting goods parking lot against the McDonald's masquerader. So you have 5 full days to vote. Poll goes up on Tuesday, ends on Saturday. Make your voices heard. Now, this parking lot pooper doesn't surprise me. I wrote a whole chapter about people shitting and pissing in parking lots in my book, A Whole Lot of Shenanigans. So if you haven't picked up that book and you want to hear more about people shitting and pissing in a parking lot, pick up my book, A Whole Lot of Shenanigans. It's available on eBay and on Amazon, and it's free with Prime membership, free 2-day shipping, that is. Now, our topic this week, now, there's a method to my madness. Now, I asked you guys online, I put out a poll earlier in the week, to see how many of you order your groceries online and have them delivered, or maybe you pick them up, you have someone else do the shopping, then you pull up in that special designated parking spot at the store, and the people run out the groceries to you. How many do it that way, and how many people of my listeners do it the old-fashioned way? Now, 79% of you said you still go to the supermarket every week, go up and down the aisles, check out, where 21% of you said you prefer and you use the online methods, whether it be delivery or you have to go pick it up in the parking lot. Now, there's a price for all this convenience, folks, and it's not just about groceries. And that's what our topic is about this week, the cost of convenience. So, say you come home from a long day of work to find frozen chicken thighs in the freezer. The thought of thawing them out, cooking them, finding a side dish to serve alongside them, it's not very appealing, is it? Instead, you pull out your phone, you pull up the Uber Eats or the Grubhub app or any of these online food delivery apps, and you order dinner from a restaurant nearby. You do this even though you'll have to pay not only for the food, but also a delivery fee and some hidden fees in a lot of cases. The chicken, it might already be in your house, but it's frozen far too solid to be convenient for you. People are often willing to pay for convenience, sometimes even rather hefty fees. Do you pay for someone to clean your home? How about to deliver your groceries or mow your lawn? Maybe you even pay for the convenience of a reserved parking space near your home. Now, all these conveniences, they add up. And it raises the question, is the added convenience worth the cost? Are the hassles associated with cleaning your own home, making your own meals, and cutting your own grass worth paying someone else to do the work? Paying for convenience comes down to the trade-off of money versus your time. People who work jobs with a long work schedule, a lot of hours, are much more willing to pay for conveniences. They don't have as much free time, so they want to be able to enjoy that downtime rather than having to fight traffic on the road and in the stores. People who have less demanding jobs and who might work fewer hours, they are usually more willing to take that extra trip to the store or spend a few hours a week cleaning their own homes. They have the time, so saving money is often more important to them. There's always going to be two types of people, folks. Those who value their time above all else, and those who are staunchly opposed to paying for any services that they can do on their own. Don't expect the latter group to ever shell out dollars for convenience. These people would much rather do something for themselves, no matter how much time it's going to take. Some feel when they spend time grocery shopping or washing their car, they are wasting time that they could instead be spending on growing their own businesses or their careers or something else more productive. Those people feel that we have two main resources available to us, money and time. Money is renewable. You can always make more money. Time, however, is not. We all have the same amount of time and only so much of it. Now, because of this, many people look at paying for convenience as buying time. For example, someone could turn what would have been a 2-hour shopping trip to a 15-minute online order. Yeah, they might have to pay extra to have their items delivered, but now they have that extra time they could spend how they like, whether that means spending more time with friends and family members or building their business. When approached this way, the question is a simple one. What is more valuable to you? The money you'll save by doing something on your own, or the time you'll save by paying a service or individual to do it for you? If the nearest grocery store is only a few-minute drive from your house, having groceries delivered to your home might not make financial sense. But if the nearest electronics store is an hour's drive away, then it probably makes sense for the convenience of potentially paying a bit extra to order your new laptop or tablet or electronic device online. Now, we're seeing more and more consumers paying for convenience, but they need to be careful and do some figuring out to make sure that it makes financial sense to them. The decision to pay for convenience actually comes down to simple math. People need to know that what their hourly rate is. So say you make $30 an hour, and with overtime you can make $45 an hour. If the convenience of having groceries delivered to your door saves you 1 hour of time, valued at $45, then as long as the cost of delivery is less than your hourly rate, it makes economic sense to pay for that delivery. Of course, that's just a rough guide. As with all things in life, the decision to pay for convenience is a bit more complicated than that. We can't turn everything into a convenience without realizing that we may need to work overtime to pay for it. You also have to determine how much you enjoy the act itself. You might like going to Best Buy and being able to touch and see the product before you order it. Life is full of choices, and knowing our rate makes these decisions easier, your hourly rate. So we know that the convenience overall costs money. Whether we pay a $3 convenience fee when we buy concert tickets online or whether we pay someone to do something we can't do ourselves, before you pay for any sort of convenience, it's a good idea to do a cost and benefit analysis of whether it's worth it to pay someone else to take care of something for you. These are some things to keep in mind as you determine whether or not to pay for convenience. Now, know the value of your time, folks. One of the main considerations is the value of our time. You need to think about what your time is worth to you and whether or not you want to spend it doing something for yourself instead of paying someone else to do it for you. Many people think of their time as being worth what they get paid at a job. You can figure out how much you get paid at your job and then translate that into a cost for you to spend the time to do it. Let's look at the actual cost of the convenience. You can also think about the cost of the convenience. In some cases, the cost is fairly negligible. Paying $1.50 to buy movie tickets online in order to avoid standing in a line and to ensure you get a seat seems worthwhile to some people if the movie you know is going to be full. You don't have to go through that whole hassle of waiting on the line and am I going to get a seat? Also take into account whether you can do it yourself. If you are not comfortable with your knowledge of how to do something, you may want someone else to do it. There are some things that you should pay others to do, especially if you could wind up with a more expensive situation if you mess it up. Like, don't be a mad electrician, try to rewire your house when you have no idea about electrical work, plumbing, all that kind of stuff. Now, you have to also consider, do you enjoy doing it? Because the worth of your time, it would probably be more cost efficient to get a landscaper to mow the lawn. However, if you enjoy the hour and a half to mow the lawn, you may want to do it yourself. If you enjoy working outside, enjoy the exercise it may be bringing you, you may not want to hire someone else to do it if you're really enjoying it. And if you are confident in your ability to perform that task. There's no reason to pay for someone else to do it then. Of course, the other consideration is whether or not you can afford to pay for the convenience. It may not be an issue if you don't have the necessary capital. Now, there's a story out there, and it's often told by business people, that Tom Monahan, he's the founder of Domino's Pizza, he once said, "We don't sell pizza, we sell delivery. We offer time to families who are looking for it." Now, Domino's Pizza was founded in 1960, and it became perfectly poised to sell a product to the American consumer that were willing to buy convenience. With the sudden increase of dual-income families, people became more and more willing to pay for the easy dinner solution of a 30-minute pizza delivery. Within the first 15 years of franchising, the Domino's chain had opened over 200 stores nationwide. Of course, as the speed of our lives has continued to increase, so has the appeal of convenience. Today, we could purchase a household item or food or anything from any room in our house with the press of a button, receive shopping deliveries within a half hour, and pay for goods with just a tap on our watch. From food and coffee to auto care and health care, convenience is becoming increasingly convenient. Convenience is no longer merely appreciated among the average consumer. It is demanded in almost every corner of our economy. But what expense have we pursued convenience? At what expense, I should say, have we pursued convenience? First and foremost, money. At the grocery store, the drive-thru, or the coffee counter, we pay for a premium of convenience. In some cases, it costs just a little, but in other cases, convenience can be quite expensive. But convenience costs us more in more places than just our wallets and pocketbooks. It costs us in our health. Not always, but oftentimes, the purchase of convenience negatively impacts our health. Prepackaged foods are among the fastest growing segments in grocery sales, with sales growing more than 60% in the past year. Unfortunately, many of these meals contain preservatives and contain as much as 57% of the recommended daily allowance for salt. And that goes with restaurant-prepared meals that you're ordering from Grubhub and all these other places. A lot of salt in this food that you're getting outside the house. Quality, folks. There are times, of course, when purchases made out of convenience result in a higher quality good or service, but this is not always the case. Starbucks coffee may be a good example as any. Even among those who frequent Starbucks, very few would argue that they could not make a better cup of coffee at home. But what Starbucks does is offer you convenience. The environment. From home electronics and kitchen appliances to prepackaged foods and single-serve coffee pods, our quest for convenience has resulted in increased energy use in packaging and transportation and preparation. It has also resulted in increased waste at an alarming rate. Perseverance. Oftentimes, the greatest lessons we learn in our life are born from inconvenience or pain and suffering. In fact, numerous scientific studies have proven the same thing. But among a society where convenience and comfort are pursued above everything else, the opportunity to develop perseverance becomes less and less frequent. Overconsumption. One of the reasons for the high levels of consumption in our society is that goods have become increasingly cheaper to produce and purchase. But another reason for high level of consumerism in our world is the ease of availability of these items. When shopping becomes so convenient, so does consumption. Like strip malls, convenience stores, fast food restaurants on the corner of every major thoroughfare, not to mention the availability of all the online ways, we are constantly presented with convenient opportunities to buy more than we need. There are times when convenience is absolutely worth the price. One might even argue our entire system, based on the division of labor, was born out of convenience. It is easier for me to pay somebody to grow the food and sew the clothing and build the shelter than for me to do it all by myself. However, if your lifestyle is being compromised in any of the areas I mentioned, finances, health, overconsumption, you may want to reevaluate what purchases you are making purely for the sake of convenience because maybe the cost has become too great. Now, Americans, adults, are forking out a combined $751 billion with a B on conveniences each year, according to the latest data. Surveys find that 74% of adults in the United States spend $4,100 a year on conveniences like subscription boxes, food deliveries, and ride sharing. Ride sharing being the top convenience. The most common convenience service is ride sharing. 50% of U.S. adults are shelling out almost $78 billion on these services in the last year. That's about $625 a year for each of those who spend it on ride sharing. Ride sharing, which 50% of adults say they've used, is closely followed by home services like a cleaner or a landscaper, coming in at 45%, and food deliveries. Uber Eats, Grubhub, Amazon Fresh, 44%. Those are followed by pet services, 29%, which are dog sitters, dog walkers, and groomers. Then subscription boxes, 29%. Shave clubs, BarkBox, HelloFresh, all that kind of stuff. Now, where are the most dollars spent? While the American dream might be a house with a white picket fence, it turns out that tending it is not part of the deal. 45% of us shelling out $1,283 a year on home services like lawn maintenance. This equates to a collective $143.8 billion a year. So what are the next ones? So people are spending $143.8 billion on lawn services, house cleaners, and services for the home that they choose not to do. Then food delivery, $101.8 billion. Ride share, $77.8 billion. Pet services, $50.8 billion. Then these subscription boxes, $37.1 billion. Saving time and money is the top reason people give for using these convenience services. With 69% of American adults citing this combination as the main cause, 60% are happier just to save the time, and the next most common reason is lack of desire to do the tasks themselves, with 39% saying they throw these tasks into the too hard to do basket. Now, men and women are nearly as likely as one another to use convenience services, with men 75% slightly more than women at 73%. While men are only 10% more likely to use ride-sharing services than women, they are 24% more likely to sign up for subscription boxes. The Shave Club. You can't get razors at CVS or when you go to the store. You got to have them delivered in a separate box with your shave cream. I tried the Dollar Shave Club. I mean, the razors were no better than what I get at Costco or anything else, and wasn't any more convenient. I'd still have to go to the store for other things, so I canceled it. Even though millennials earn less money than the other generations, they are most likely to outsource tasks. 86% of millennials say they use convenience services. Millennials are followed by Generation X, 75%. And those living in the South are the most likely to opt convenience services, with 76% of people living in the South say they use them. The South is closely followed by those on the West Coast at 75%. Tied for third is the Northeast and the Midwest at 70%. And going back to generations, baby boomers, 53%. So millennials, 86% of millennials use it. 75% of Gen X use these services, and 53% of boomers. So sorry I read that out of order there. Those earning more than $100,000 a year are the group most likely to use these convenience services, with 80% in this income range saying they use at least one convenience service. As you might suspect, the percentage of people using convenience services decreases along with their household income, with those earning between $75,000 and $99,000 at 77%, and from $50,000 to $74,999 at 70%, and under $50,000 at 68%. Now, 79% of you said you still shop the old school way for your groceries based on our poll. Now, I've done both for the last... I always liked food shopping as an adult, because think about it. When you're a kid, you're in the cart begging for shit for your mom. I want that. And it's no, shut the fuck up. Calm down. But when you're an adult, you go into that store and like the world is your oyster. You can get anything you want. Now, for years, I liked going to the food store, grocery store, going up and down the aisles. But I found there was advantages and disadvantages to it. Now, we tend to order groceries online more and more, whether it be ordering through a supermarket chain and then my wife goes to the parking spot and picks it up, or recently using the Amazon Fresh, where you order the groceries from a distribution center, they pack the goods there in bags, put the barcodes on the bags, and then a delivery driver goes and picks them up and then brings them to your house. You can track them online, where they are, the whole deal. So there's good pros and cons. So let me give you the pros and cons from a guy who does a lot of grocery shopping, both online and in person. Now, the downside of grocery delivery, as I've noticed over the past few months, there's some added costs. You got to tip the drivers. And some of the prices, I thought were going to be outrageous, but the prices are actually pretty in line with the supermarkets. They have to be. So it's some added cost. If you're a Prime member, this Amazon Fresh now is free. There's no charge. There's no fee, I should say, but you still have to tip the driver, which is $6, $7, $8, depending on the amount of your order. So you do have some added costs. One of the biggest pet peeves is that you can't handpick the produce. Now, you look for blemishes. When you're picking your own produce, you're looking for little blemishes. Some you want, maybe you're not going to use your avocados until Wednesday. The guy delivers them on Saturday, and you have to eat them in the next hour. They're going to be rotting. So you can time your produce, whether you want ripe bananas, green bananas, overripe bananas. You're not getting to pick that. Now, if you order from the supermarket's website, there's a little place for notes where you could say, I want ripe bananas or green, but when you order from like Amazon Fresh, there's no place to put these notes, okay? So hand-picking the produce is a big thing. Expiration dates, you know how I am with expiration dates, folks. Now, when you go to the supermarket, when you buy yogurt or something, you could say, reasonable expiration date. It's 3 to 4 weeks on yogurt, bread a week. When you order from like Amazon Fresh, I like English muffins. Now, if they're fresh English muffins, you should have a week on the expiration date, sometimes 9 days. I've been getting English muffins from Amazon Fresh, and if we get it delivered on Monday, the shit's expired by Wednesday. Now, some of you, even a friend of mine said last week, well, put them in the refrigerator. When you put an English muffin in the refrigerator, it changes the whole dynamic of the English muffin. When it's a fresh English muffin, it pulls apart, it's fork split, the nooks and crannies stay intact. I know I'm sounding like I'm on the Thomas's English muffin commercial. Once that shit goes in the refrigerator, it gets hard. The whole complexity of the English, the whole texture, everything in the English muffin changes. So I don't want my fucking English muffin in the refrigerator. I want a fresh English muffin. I'm paying for it. Give me a week to eat it. Don't make me stuff my face in 2 days with a double pack of English muffins, okay? So you can't pick your expiration dates. Now, here's a big one. Delivery, sometimes you have a window, 2-hour window, or even a pickup. The pickup's getting worse and worse at the local store. You pick a window between 12 and 1. They call you an hour before. Oh, it's not going to be ready till 2 o'clock. So their delivery windows are constantly, they can't keep up. Here's a big one for me. Amazon Fresh. Now, this time of the year, it's cold outside, so they put them in these, they're not insulated bags. They're pretty thick paper bags. Now, in this type of weather, even if the guy has 2 stops before you, the frozen food's still frozen. The dairy's still somewhat cold. But there's no way I'm using this service in the dead of summer in the South. Because if they have 2 or 3 stops before you and they're riding around in a 90-degree car, even with the air conditioning on, they're stopping, they're delivering to other places. I don't want my milk, my dairy products, my yogurts, my frozen foods defrosted or spoiled by the time they get here. So I probably won't be using it in the summer because they don't have ice packs and refrigerated bags and that kind of stuff, where if you go pick up your own groceries, you bring a refrigerated bag, you could throw ice packs in there. So that kind of stuff grosses me out. You still might need to go out to the store because a lot of the times they're out of stock. And even if you say, okay, substitute, some of these idiots at these stores and warehouses, they substitute something totally different for what you asked for. It doesn't even make sense a lot of the time, so you still may have to go out to the store. You also miss out on sale items or markdowns or clearance items if you're not physically going in the store. Now, what are the pros of grocery delivery? Your time saved, of course. You're able to check your inventory as you build your grocery list. Like, in other words, if you're at the store, you say, shit, do I have this in the cupboard or in the pantry? When you're home and you're doing your order, you could say, oh, how many vegetable broths do we have? You go over to the pantry and you go, okay, we have 2, I don't need it. And you can make a reasonable list according to what you actually need. You're not doing it on the fly at the supermarket, for those who don't make lists. Now, you could compare prices at home in a stress-free environment. You could compare prices online and say, well, it's cheaper to buy it from Kroger than it is from Amazon. You can't do that in the store, without going through your phone and blocking the aisles and being stressed out. The biggest thing about one of the biggest advantages of online food shopping is you stick to your list and you don't do impulse buying. How many times do you go to the store for 6 items, you come home with a carload because you saw these cookies on sale on the end cap, you saw this, you saw that, and before you know it, your cart's full. You don't do that with online food ordering. You order and you stick to your list. Now, you can also shop on your timetable throughout the day. You can build your list online as you think of things. You can't do that once you're in the store. You stay within your budget. Now, budgets are a big thing we talk about. If you have to have a food budget, folks, because if you're just buying shit on the fly every week, you have to have a food budget, whether it's $150 a week, $200 a week, and you have to stay within that budget. Ordering the groceries online helps you stay within that budget. Once you reach a certain threshold in your cart, you say, okay, my budget's $150, I'm up to $160 now. What am I going to cut out of there? What don't I need? Makes you think about what you need and what you don't need more. When you're in the store, you just buy that shit. It's in the cart, you buy it. Biggest thing, not dealing with mutants, people, parking. When you're doing the online thing, you're not dealing with anybody but the delivery driver. And a lot of the times they just drop it on your porch. They don't even ring your bell. So you're not dealing with mutants and people. So those are the pros and cons of grocery delivery. If you haven't tried Amazon Fresh, give it a shot. See what you think. Again, the prices are very competitive to your local supermarkets. Maybe it'll save you time and free up time for things you could do on the weekends. But keep in mind, if you do that every week, you have to figure in another $30 to $40 a month for tips and fees. Not so much fees with Amazon Fresh. If you're a Prime member, they don't charge you. But you have to tip the drivers. These guys are out hustling. That's how they make their money. You have to tip these guys. So you have to allow for an extra $30, $25, $30, $35 a month if you're using it 4 or 5 times to get these drivers their tips. So you have to take that into account. But maybe that is worth freeing up your weekends and not going up and down those aisles for an hour and a half and dealing with mutants and all kinds of crap. So think about it. Give it a try. Or if you're local supermarket offers, an online thing where you can do your order online and then pull up in the parking spot and they run the orders out to you. Give that a try too. Folks, going to the supermarket, I have nothing against it, but they're realizing that more and more people are using the online things. They don't have as many cashiers anymore. You go to any supermarket now, there's 1 or 2 cashiers. They expect you to go to the do-it-yourself register. Now, first of all, a lot of people don't know what they're doing when they get on there. But even the ones that do, there's if you're doing a big shopping order, there's no place to put the groceries. Every time you lift an item, the light goes off that please place the item back in the bag. It thinks you're stealing. It's a fucking mess. So you got to keep in mind, even if you still like going to the supermarket, they're phasing out cashiers and help there and everything, where pretty soon, folks, I could see 10, 15 years, nobody's going to the supermarket anymore. So we're kind of phasing out of that. So you got to expect when you go to the store now, there's no help. You're probably going to end up scanning the bag, the order yourself, unless you want to wait on a line with 30 people in front of you with one cashier open. So eventually they're going to force us to do all this shit from home. Now, what about your lawn? Now, I've been on both sides of that coin, too. We've had landscaping services, and for the last, I would say, 7 years I've done it myself. Now, there's pros and cons of hiring a lawn service, too. Now, the cons is the cost. Some of these companies, most of these companies, take what your contract is and divide it by 12. So even 3 months that they're not coming to your house, you're still paying these motherfuckers in December, January, February. Between leaf season and spring, a lot of these guys spread out the contract so they have an income in the slow times of the year. So you're still paying these motherfuckers even though they're not coming. So the cost. Now, you have to go according to their schedule. Everybody wants their lawns cut on Thursday or Friday, so it looks nice on the weekend when you have people over. But they can't do everybody's lawn on Thursday or Friday. So if you're the poor son of a bitch that has your lawn cut on Monday or Tuesday, by the weekend, it's almost a week later, your lawn looks like shit. And then you're having people over, you want to have a party in the backyard. You're on their schedule when you're not doing it yourself. Now, you have all these automatic treatments and add-ons that they give you to keep the weeds away, to do all this. They're constantly upselling you on shit. So that's another downfall to hiring a lawn service. Your health and fitness and outdoor time is decreased when you're not out there doing it yourself. Even though it's work, you're outdoors, you're taking in the sights and sounds of being outside. That's taken away from you. You won't be able to learn about new things. When you do shit yourself, you learn things. When you have someone do it for you, you're not interested. You just say, whatever, do it, as long as I don't have to do it. So you're not learning about products and different things that are going on outside. And let me tell you this, the biggest reason I got rid of landscaping companies, they don't take the pride you have in your own home and your own lawn, and they don't do the detail work. When I go outside, now when I managed the DJ business, I had my office in the front of the house. So I'd be in my office, and I would see these landscapers come. I swear, it was 3 or 4 guys, and they were gone in and out of my yard in 3 to 5 minutes. They would ride on the mower, do a quick, they wouldn't even do really good edging or weeding or anything. All the little detail work that makes or break the appearance of the yard. They'd be in and out in 3 to 5 minutes. They didn't realize I was home watching them. And you would see them. They wouldn't adjust the height of the mower right. They would cut up the lawn, no matter what service. It wasn't just that we had a bad landscaping company. They all did this. When you do it yourself, you take that extra time and the pride. You look for the detail. After you're done, you take a step back, or at least I do in the street, and I say, anything that stands out, that doesn't look right, I go and fix that. I put my headphones on, my noise-canceling headphones. I'm listening to music. It makes the time go faster. It's the pride that you have in when you do something yourself. You don't have that when you have a guy coming in doing your lawn or anything. Now, the pros, of course, you're saving time. In the middle of the summer, when it's lawn cutting, I spend between the front and backyard 3 hours a week outside doing all this stuff. So you're saving time. They provide all the equipment, the fuel and everything. I had to buy lawnmowers, weed whackers, hedge cutters, all that stuff. I have to buy gasoline for the mowers. I have to house all this stuff in my garage. And they use pro-grade products, and they have the knowledge that maybe I don't, but you learn over time. So don't get me wrong, folks. I don't want to go back to a time where there's no internet or there's no conveniences, and none of this stuff was invented. Modern day conveniences like the ones we talked about, they could be very beneficial to us when creating space for more meaningful use of our time and energy. But I can't ignore that the aim of modern convenience is most often to circumvent effort and hard work while creating a dependency on these conveniences. Now think about it. The more we depend on these many conveniences that are thrown at us, the more they can become a crutch, and we can quickly feel as though failure is imminent without them. If we're not finding other outlets to challenge ourselves, we can quickly become like the frog being boiled alive, 1 degree or one shiny new convenient service at a time. One day we'll wake up and realize we don't have the skills or the confidence to leave our house. Companies are built on the hope that you will depend on them. We're all going to depend on them. Companies work tirelessly to come up with new ways to make you feel like you need them and can't live without them. Consider how many subscriptions, like these monthly boxes or annual commitments, your parents have. If you're older than 20 or 25, your parents probably have none of them, or very few, if any. So what happens if these conveniences go away, or prices were suddenly raised beyond our willingness to pay? What is our willingness to pay? If we're being spoon-fed every single month, what happens when that spoon doubles in price? If we're using these conveniences to eliminate the mundane so we can give more time and energy to accomplish our life's passions, then maybe we're doing it right. But it's not the norm, and if these conveniences are only making it easier for us to binge watch our favorite Netflix season and sit on the couch all weekend in record time, or log more hours on our Xbox or video games, then we're missing the boat here, and we're robbing ourselves of the nourishing effects of accomplishment. Perhaps the most hidden cost of convenience is that of our own confidence. Why is it that the instances of anxiety and depression have spiked in almost identical pattern as the rise of smartphones and all the conveniences that have come with it? With more and more ways to circumvent effort and hard work, our capacity to engage in hard work is literally diminishing. We do less so we are able to do less. And when we are able to do less, we need more done for us. The more we need things done for us, well, it makes it harder to be confident in our ability to do for ourselves. Seeing our efforts bring about positive change, opportunity, or success, and it's a critical element of our self-efficiency or belief in our own abilities. In our current age, folks, of convenience, we have to be more creative, finding opportunities to exert effort and engage in hard work. Those who will be truly independent, accomplished, and confident will be those who avoid the path of least resistance and seek out opportunities to challenge their beliefs and capabilities and test their personal limits. I'm not saying the answer to our problems is turning off the TV, cutting our own lawn, or working up a little sweat, but I would argue it might be a good place for us to start. So that's our discussion about conveniences. So think about it. What conveniences do you depend on? And what if they suddenly doubled in price? Would you stick with them? Would you shop around for a similar company that offers the same convenience, or would you say, I'm going to do it myself? What conveniences do you have that you could eliminate tomorrow and do for yourself to save you a few bucks? Or what conveniences aren't you using that you think would be more valuable to your time to spend with your family or grow your business or do something productive? So those are things to think about when you're thinking about subscribing to something or using an online service or having your lawn cut or ordering your groceries online. Is the cost worth the convenience? Is your time more valuable than the money? Is your money more valuable than the time? All things to consider when considering these conveniences. So, all right, again, I appreciate all of your listenership. 70 episodes now in the books. I can't thank you enough. Where are we available? Tell your friends. We're on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, Radio Public, Radio.com, Stitcher, CastBox, YouTube. And if you have one of those Amazon Echo devices, just say, Alexa, play the podcast A Bunch of Malarkey. She will play the most recent episode. Again, I apologize if my voice was a little off this week. Got a sore throat, a little bit of a cold. Hopefully it's not the coronavirus. Now, be sure to vote for our Mutant of the Week. We have, who do we have this week? We have the McDonald's Masquerader versus the Parking Lot Pooper. I think it's going to be a landslide, but again, can't skew the vote. McDonald's Masquerader, Parking Lot Pooper. Poll goes up very early on Tuesday, runs through Saturday. Also, folks, had a few more subscribers. Go to Patreon, patreon.com/abunchofmalarkey. Become a patron or a sponsor of the show. $1 a month, $2 a month, $3 a month, whatever you can afford. If you're really loaded, hey, this is a convenience. You want a convenience of having a podcast at the touch of your fingers. A couple of bucks a month. Patreon.com, a bunch of malarkey. Keep the show ad-free, commercial-free, and going. So, folks, whether you're doing your food shopping from home or if you're out there bucking traffic, going up and down those aisles, or whatever you're doing this weekend, you still have to beware. Because it's a shit show out there. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been a wonderful 70 episodes. Here's to 70 more. We'll catch you next week. Thanks so much for joining us, folks. Take care, everybody.